Well, this turned out to be way more interesting than I thought, for a few different reasons. The first one being that the whole thing's kinda meta. It mixes documentary with narrative film, and it's sort of a movie about making a movie. And in this movie, Anne Lupo is essentially making a movie about her life and experiences, but at the same time it's about, well, the events leading up to making out the movie. What inspired it? But what inspired it are the events taking place in this movie, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know exactly why it's so difficult to explain, because when you're watching it, it makes perfect sense. It's not confusing at all. But what's the actual story about? Well, it's about this young woman who fell in love with a guy and now she can't get over him. That's basically the whole thing. She's just an insecure person filled with self-doubt, who happens to be stuck on this one guy who doesn't appear to love her. And I'll be honest, for the first half an hour or so, I was super skeptical. It seemed a little too basic and I was just like, is there even a movie in this? Is there anything more to it? Or are they just gonna stretch this super thin concept into 90 minutes? But then something happened and I started to get more into it. But I wasn't really sure why, because on the surface it wasn't that great. Then it eventually got to this little vignette, this short movie within the movie, about this other woman who's in a similar situation as the protagonist. And that whole part is shot in this 90s camcorder style, and it just worked flawlessly. I thought it was beautifully executed, and the movie basically won me over at that point. After that, I was in. I mean, that was pretty much the highlight of the movie for me, at least on a technical level. But I think that's the moment when the movie clicked for me. I got it, I understood what it was trying to do, and that completely changed how I thought about it. And here's the thing about this movie, it's not afraid to take chances. It's creative and it takes risks and tries different things. And you know, some ideas work better than others. But at least it kept it interesting and it wasn't just another super conventional movie. Because the story here is so thin that had it been told in a straightforward manner, I don't think it would have worked at all. But Anne Lupo did a great job with it. She essentially sold me on her character, which is basically her. Because another thing about this movie, and probably the thing that made me really appreciate it and connect with it, is that it's brutally introspective and honest. She just lays it all out there. All her insecurities and issues, and that actually felt really refreshing. Because you don't see that a lot. Writers and filmmakers usually hide behind characters. Even when the story is autobiographical, they usually make up characters. But in this, it's just Anne Lupo making a movie about Anne Lupo, and she doesn't hold back. And it's very clear that she's working through some stuff. And that the whole process of making this movie is like therapy to her. And at the end of the day, it's about self-acceptance and being fine with who you are. Which is a great message, and it's being delivered in a unique way here. And because of the honesty and the introspective nature of it, it also feels genuine and comes across as authentic. It doesn't just feel like a movie, a story someone made up. It feels real and you can tell it comes from a real place. So yeah, I was very surprised by this one, especially after the rocky first part. And it eventually won me over and I ended up liking it quite a bit. However, I will also point out that this is a very low budget movie. I think they did a great job with the budget they had, but it's not a fantastic looking high budget movie or anything. And Anne Lupo's acting could probably use a little bit of polish too. It's not that she's terrible or anything, but when she's on screen with someone like Kimiko Glenn, you can tell the difference between a great working actor and someone who's not quite there yet. And maybe she just wants to be a filmmaker more than an actor. I don't know, but I just feel like I had to point that out. This is not a superb film on a technical level, but it works, and all the rest of it more than made up for the few shortcomings. So would I recommend it? Yeah, I think it's very much worth giving a chance. But don't go into it expecting a masterpiece. Go into it with an open mind. So maybe give it a look. Maybe don't. I'm not your dad. But I am trying to sell out, so consider liking, subbing, hitting that bell and supporting me on Patreon. Because I really need to get myself a New York apartment. And hey, why not drop a comment below or check out another review? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.